Thank you for Talking with Burritos, the podcast that's giving you something to talk about when you want to talk about that doll that's living in your attic who you believe might be trying to sleep with your husband. I am Jerry JJ Wayne Greb, and on this episode, we're going to talk about Annabelle creation. Brie Larson's Glass Castle, I can speak, and the Emoji movie. Also for this episode, the scoop du jour, horror versus thriller. What separates the two? Annabelle, we come to discover, was forged by a toy maker living in a countryside home with his daughter named, you guess it, Annabelle, and her mother/his wife. There's your creation, sealed, signed, and delivered within the first 5 minutes of the movie. The doll is, as it was in the first film, a vessel for an evil spirit in search of a body in which to imbibe. But the question remains, what is it that possesses the doll, and why is the doll so evil? The answer comes at the expense of a group of orphans who unexpectedly settle into a home haunted by the evil presence. This home belongs to the doll maker and his wife, a nun and her homeless 5 children, and to their humble abode as atonement for their sins. Once upon a time, they did a really bad thing. To that I mean, whatever possesses this doll remains a mystery. We know it's a demon of some sort conjured by the doll maker and his wife. However, we still know little as to how it was summoned into this realm. Maybe a Ouija board, seance, human sacrifice. Little is known as to how it got here, but we do know its intent. The demon is hungry for a body, and any one of those little orphan girls will do. Now let's talk about those orphan girls and how really to get yourself killed. As proper etiquette, one doesn't bite the hand that feeds you. And in this metaphor, the hand is of the toy maker's limbs. And the food you do not eat is the door he told you never to open. First of all, it's locked. Secondly, he instructed you specifically not to open this door. Now, if someone tells you not to open a door, and they speak those words rather convincingly, why would you, after waking up to a noise in the middle of the night, go and investigate said noise inside the bedroom you were told is always locked, but now you find open? My boy Matty P says he would have went inside the room. I say, bullshit. The guy told me not to go inside that room with the locked door, and I, in the middle of the night, find that door unlocked and hear some creepy voice beckoning me to enter said unoccupied room. I'm not going inside that room. Sorry. In the words of Bill Paxton, game over, man. This is game over. I'm out of here. It's like fight or flight, and I'm going to flight my ass out of that damn house. I don't care if there's no car in sight. They were like in a remote. I'm going to pull a Wind River on their ass and just run and see what happens. Take my chances with the wilderness and the dirt. Annabelle the doll was only a device of anticipated fear within the movie. Whenever it appeared on scene, there was an added amount of tension. Her presence made scenes where nothing else was going on a little bit more frightful. Annabelle is a tool for the spirit to reside. And from the first movie, it just seems like it just wants to kill. It just wants to go out there and maim and murder. It's not like it takes a body and then turns into a nice human being to blend into the earth and maybe wreak havoc in a different way, like become a Wall Street broker or something. I don't know. But unlike the first film, Annabelle was not the focus of the terror. Annabelle the doll. The terror was in the creation, which I would say is the spirit. And that spirit, that creation, that darkness was within the house, the sulliness of the toy maker, the seen but not heard woman of the house, and the expected horror that is to come when the demon finds what it is it's looking for, and it goes after her tooth and nail. Now, James Wan is touted as the writer, director, producer who is finally bringing horror back to the horror movie genre. With films like The Conjuring, the Ouija and Ouija board and Ouija sequel, prequel, Annabelle, and Lights Out, Wan has marked a territory within the film industry tainted by a lack of original storytelling and, needless to say, scare factor. Both Ouija and Annabelle are better sequels than their initial box office debuts. This type of jump scare, loud bang horror is not new to audiences, but the stories are better. Better storytelling engrosses audiences and disarms their anticipation to be scared. The fright strikes when you're at your most vulnerable. That is what I enjoyed about watching Annabelle Creation. I knew what was coming before it even came on screen. Or happened on screen. However, it was a matter of when it occurred, and that really raised the skin bumps on my arm and had me questioning the darkness of the dark recesses of the auditorium where I couldn't make out who or what might be beside me or behind me. There was actually times I was in there, I was sitting in there, I was like, okay, I do not want to look behind me, because I always had this scare that I will look back once upon a time and see something or someone up in the projection booth. You know, you guys, if you look up and you see that glass, and now the glass is bigger in some auditoriums, and so you can maybe get a glimpse. Whenever I'm watching movies by myself, I just don't want to look back, but then I do, and it's like, oh, good Lord, please don't let anything walk by that part glass, because it freaked me the hell out. You know, a lot of it is just all within yourself. I like to freak myself out, and then that makes what's on screen even scarier because I'm anticipating something. My heart's already racing because I'm just a little on edge, and then once the thing happens on screen, I'm like, oh, jeez, that's scary. But, you know, I'm just not a really, horror movie buff. I never was, never have been. I was always the one to run out the room when my father put on a horror movie. And that was one way that he got us out of the room too, as well. It's just to play like Platt, a Hellraiser, a Phantasm, and then we would just book it out of there. Now, Annabelle's I think it just leaves a little bit of hanging fruit. Yes, they have some cameos in there, and they introduce some things within the horror movie, within this whole spectrum, The Conjuring and these other movies. They do throw in some Easter eggs that really tend to the storyline of the other movies and somehow connects them. However, I wish they would have just gave us a little something more on this demon and what it is and why it's possessing this family and how they conjured it up and maybe not what its intent might be, but how they conjured it up. I think that's more of when you say Annabelle Creation, I think the story should have been concentrated on that effort, like the family's grief and then their efforts to, and also succeeding, bringing back a version of their child that they believe is wholesome and pure, but then it turns out to be something very evil that they want to contain. Yes, they did some flashbacks and they did a moment where it kind of fills in the blanks, but I still think there is a huge gap there, a hole within the story, within this, the storyline of these two movies, Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, that needs to be filled before anyone feels at all whole or well informed about what's going on in this storyline. As a film, The Glass Castle is a painting, a physical representation of an overall theme to a much larger context. As a memoir, The Glass Castle is a film which accounts fragmented moments within a life full of interesting people, places, and experiences that only reading the manuscript or speaking with the author will unveil. Brie Larson plays Jeanette Walls, the writer of a memoir by the same name, in a film which recounts only but a few of the more endearing, beautiful, hectic times living with a not-so-perfect father whom has the best intentions for his family but fails at being responsible enough to care for them. I didn't read the memoir, but I have read some memoirs in the past and later watched movies depicting the source material. The one thing I know is that they are never a perfect portrayal of the written context. There's only so much you can do or show in a film without making it like 1,000 hours long. The challenge is to extract a major focal point of the memoir, something which all the events of that person's life is influenced by, and portray that on screen. The film, The Glass Castle, focuses on Jeanette Walls' relationship with her father and some of the many adventures and misadventures she and her siblings experienced as a family under his care. They were squatters, they were grifters, they did what they had to do to survive without the monetary means to live a stable life. Woody Harrelson, in this depiction of Rex Walls, Jeanette Walls' father, is a man with admirable ambitions who is held prisoner to his own demons. As assumed by the movie, his actions, as well intended as they are, were selfish and sometimes harmful to his family. Brie Larson as Jeanette is a successful tabloid writer trying her best to move forward with her life and leave her paternal history behind. This was best depicted in the opening scene with her soon-to-be husband. They're at dinner and she makes up a story about her childhood and parents to appease her husband's clientele. Afterwards, she's in a car and sees her father and mother digging through trash. Driver, she says, speed up. Actually, I don't think she said speed up, but she did attempt to hide her face, but not before Rex notices her. This establishes the tone for the movie, which begins with Jeanette suffering an injury that leads to a stay in a hospital, where we meet the family as they enact a plan to break her out. There was a similar scene like this in Captain Fantastic, a movie comparable in tone and, I believe, dramatically more entertaining. We witness Rex's adoration towards his daughter Jeanette of, say, age 7, and also his propensity to flip out whenever a figure of modern society questions his manhood and ability to provide for his family. Later, in that same act, the two, the youngest Jeanette and Rex, share a beautiful moment in what I think is the Arizona desert. This scene cements their bond as father and daughter, which Rex will later challenge with his unreasonable beliefs and failure to launch. Brie Larson, as much as a fine actress as she is, she won an Oscar, but she didn't carry the torch in this movie. She just wasn't visible enough to enjoy her range of acting talent. And I believe this may have played into the third act unsuccessfully when Larson, as a young adult, is unbelievable as Jeanette. The choice to cast her, Brie Larson, rather than someone of that age who looks the part, threw off the continuity of what the film establishes in the first and second act with child actors Chandler Head as the youngest Jeanette and Ella Anderson as young Jeanette. This film needed a teen Jeanette, but instead they casted Brie Larson, whose appearance did not support the transition of the character's growth path. Odd as it is to say, her growth spurt into womanhood was too striking of a visual difference when Ella had, for an entire act, carried the film's major moments. So the beauty of this film rests solely in the relationship between Rex and Jeanette. There wasn't much time to focus on Maureen, the youngest daughter, who practically was raised by Jeanette, or her contempt towards the budding socialite. It was briefly introduced in the story in the third act, but never explored. So how about the chaotic love shared between Rex and Rosemary, the mother, played by Naomi Watts? Another hinted at but unexplored caveat to this story. The Glass Castle as a film succeeds at painting a beautiful picture of the relationship Jeanette and Rex shared. Where this film struggles is as a memoir, and its use of Brie Larson, the actress. The tale of Jeanette Walls' life on screen was more like a coming-of-age story of a girl with whom shared a great relationship with her father, a man who had his burdens, he had his demons, but ultimately wanted the best for her, and it was those teachings he gave her in life that made her a better human being. Despite in all the struggle and all the pain that they went through, there was also joyful moments that you learned from, and moments that she could carry on into the future to help care for her own family and her brothers and sisters and continue that relationship Rex really wanted for his family, is for them to stay together and for them to be a family. And this is just a little PS. This is a little tidbit that I wanted to say. What I gathered from the end of this movie is to never be ashamed of from where or whom you come from, because it is in those moments upon which your character is built. Know yourself And never let anyone or any superficial influence determine who you are or should be. Through perseverance and struggle, you will find the beauty of your own importance. The Emoji Movie. Beyond words. Yep. I don't have the words to express how much... Okay, I'm doing this. Doing now. I told myself I would not do this. I would not give this movie credence. I would not talk about it. But I am. I would say that what they horribly attempted to execute was a bad mashup of Wreck-It Ralph, B-Movie, and Inside and Out, or Inside Out. Here's the Wreck-It Ralph comparison. Okay, Gene, he's the meh emoji, or emoticon, finds out that he's a glitch in the system of phone apps where everything is as it should be and shall remain. Do what you were created to do, and nothing else. Sparkle Penny Pop Pop was a glitch in the game Sugarland. Or Sugar Rush, right? I don't know her name. I think her name. I don't know what that little girl's name is. Now, Vanellope was a glitch in the game Sugar Rush and sought the same kind of redemption as someone who is different within a land of conformity. And so now we go to the B movie. I don't care what anyone says about the B movie. I love that movie, but a lot of people hated that movie. Why? I don't understand it. So in the B movie, okay, Gene and his family have long been the meh family. However, there's something wrong with Gene. Gene is not all meh, but all the facial emoticons rolled up into one yellow bite. He's different, and he goes on a quest to write the meh so that he can live out his life doing what he was created to do. So if you remember the B movie, and the B movie was a little different. We have, what is his name? I forgot his name, but we have Jerry Seinfeld's B character. He wakes up and he's just graduated from B school and he's going to work in the hive. So, but he doesn't feel right about doing so. He looks around him and he sees everyone acting in unison. Everyone is doing the same old thing, the same old routine, and he feels different. So just like in this movie, Gene feels different because he can do everything that he can do more than what he was intended to do or created to do. And in the B movie, we have this B who looks around and says, okay, I don't want to live my short life because bees die within 10 days or something. He doesn't want to live his short life just in the hive doing what everyone else is doing. So he escapes. He ventures out into the world, whereas he finds a woman and he talks to her and he kind of falls in love with her. But then later within the story, he finds a purpose, to help the bees, because we all know that the bee population around the world are decreasing. So he wants to try to help that. And so he goes out and he, goes on this mission to try to help bees, help save the bees. But the point is, Gene also goes on a mission, as well as this bee, but they're total opposites, whereas Meh just wants to be Meh, and Gene wants to be something else other than a worker bee, other than what he is. He wants to be maybe a honey bee, so he can go out and scavenge for honey and collect honey. He wants to be something other than what he is. So the likeliness is right there. It's a stark comparison. The similarities are smack dab, hit you in the face, right there on the money. The Emoji Movie, we have the trio of emoticons. We have Jailbreak Gene and the Hand. They venture into the app world in search of this concealed app that could jailbreak Gene. In Inside and Out, we have Joy and Sadness, where they make their way across the brain of an adolescent mind in search of a place where memories are not forgotten. There's this scene where Gene and Jailbreak lose the hand in the deleted app bin. And this is a world drenched in a depression of blue. Everyone in there, all of its occupants, are awaiting final deletion. So you remember the Bing Bong scene in Inside and Out? It's just like that, but no one really cares if James Gordon dies. Well, they don't care if he dies in this movie. James Corden plays the hand, and he's rather annoying. So when he dropped into that deleted app ban, it's kind of like, all right, cool. We didn't feel that sadness, nor did we get a song from that scene to make us feel even sadder for Bing Bong or the hand. This James Corden, by the way, awesome show, late night talk show host. That guy, great show, whatever. We don't want him to die. I'm just saying, in that movie, you kind of want him to die. I want the hand to I want somebody to take the hand and cut off the fingers of the hand and then throw him into the delete app ban without his hands. So he's just walking around on a stump. How is he walking around, actually? I can't even remember that. Does he have feet, or is he just hopping around? I think he was just hopping around, kind of like floating like a Pac-Man or something. See, my wife enjoyed this movie. See, she's an emoticon user. And I'm not saying I don't use those, but she really is tied to her phone. Let's just put it like that. She loves her phone. She uses it a lot. And she knows the language of the emoticon. She uses them. She likes them. So this movie really did resonate with her in some way, where she understood a lot of the jokes, on display within this movie. And I'm not saying I didn't hear the jokes. I just didn't laugh at them because I didn't think they were funny. Like during the Candy Crush scene, my wife, she was directing the cartoons on what moves to make in an effort to free Gene from captivity within the app game. She, the nuanced jokes appealed to her knowledge of the apps she uses on a daily basis. What I was more impressed with, as concerning my wife, was this conclusive thought she had about the film's ending. We returned home, and while I was at my computer, she blurts out this exclamation referring to the message of this film, the Emoji Movie. All right, so here it is. The Emoji Movie meant to convey to audiences, wait, right there, hold on. Let me first set the stage of the last scene or last scenes of this movie. All right, so last scene. I don't care if I'm spoiling, because you shouldn't watch this movie anyway. See, a preteen boy saves his phone from a permanent erasure of data. And in that moment, he's searching for one last emoticon to send to a young lady he's sweet on. Now, this emoticon will tell the young lady everything he's feeling. So he searches and he finds Meh, the emoticon with 1,000 faces. He's all glitching out and everything. That should be the title of this movie. Meh, the emoticon with 1,000 faces. And then they just put that. The poster should just be him with trying to make that smile with his index finger, just bringing it up, like trying to, bring up the corner of his mouth into a smile. Now that could have been the poster and the movie right there. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. That's the title. Now, based on this scene, my wife believed the message the writer and director and whomever else of this film wanted to express was about how we should get off of our collective asses and learn to talk to one another. Now, I didn't think any such thing because I actually paid attention during the movie. I didn't like it, but I paid attention. The kid sent the young lady this emoticon that expressed all of his feelings, and she was so impressed that she thought, hey, I should walk over and talk to this guy. She only spoke to the kid because he sent her an emoticon with a facial twitch problem. Now, let's just say he takes his phone. He saves his phone in that moment right before it was completely deleted. And he ponders sending this emoticon, this message, before consequently just sliding the phone into his pocket. Then approaching the young lady using feet and legs and strikes up a verbal conversation with the gal. That would validate Valerie's opinion. However, it didn't happen like that. The story wasn't about the kid. He was a subplot to further along the adventure of Gene, the Meh emoticon. With order resumed in Texopolis, Gene is now a huge celebrity and well-accepted glitch to the phone user. If they did make an emoticon movie to completely debunk the reasoning behind the making of this ridiculous film, now wouldn't that be a better conversation? The Meh emoticon doesn't even exist in the real-world app system. Right now, stop this podcast and go and ask Siri, ask Alice, ask Echo, ask whomever to search for the mad emoticon in their phone or on the web, and you won't find it. What you will find is unamused. Okay, you guys, the scoop du jour for this episode is entitled Horror versus Thriller. With the previous movie, Annabelle, I wasn't too impressed with the horror, quote in quotes, element of the movie. My words of advice towards the end of that column were not to consider this a horror movie, but more rather like a thriller with horror elements. We see a lot of this in many categories tagged in the horror genre, especially these days. And recently, I read a forum post on Movie and Television, or Movie and TV, in which members of the site community debated a question about the difference between this term, or a horror movie, and a thriller film. A few examples tossed around are Rosemary's Baby, Black Swan, The Shining, and here's my 5 cents, Psycho. 3 of these 4 films are considered horror movies, but not by definition of the horror movie. They are thrillers, films built upon the element of suspense and the final payoff. Typically, we associate a horror movie with something supernatural. A few examples: Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, that chick in It Follows, the vampire in Let Me In. And let's not forget the 1950s. We had The Fly and the Blob. Annabelle, by this definition, meets the horror criteria. See, you have this evil spirit who is seeking the body of a host. However, the suspenseful buildup to the key moments of this film make it a thriller. Now it's a horror thriller for which there is no true category. We call it a thriller or scary movie. Earlier this year, we touted Get Out as one of the best films released in years. One of the best horror films released in years. Now, Get Out was a slow cooker, psychological thriller set on high tension that really played with the conventional design of a horror movie, but it was still a thriller. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is a thriller. The Shining is a thriller. Many of these movies are thrillers. Rosemary's Baby, they tried to label a drama thriller just so they could justify it for an Oscar nomination. Now, call a spade and just get rid of the thriller label. Revert back to the saturated age of film where things are indeed black and white. A horror movie is just that, a horror movie. A Western was a Western and not a Western thriller. A comedy was a comedy and not a horror comedy with dramatic elements. My case is this: drop the thriller label. If a movie is meant to scare audiences, it's a horror movie. Silence of the Lambs, I'm sorry folks, is a drama. Maybe if we stop concentrating on what to label a film and just tell a good story, we'll get better movies that people will want to see in theaters. Okay, I pulled this article from the Mirror UK, all right? And it basically concerns of this woman who bought a doll. She bought this doll because it was cheap and she thought, hey, maybe she would make a buck off of it based on the fact that it was in relatively good shape and it looked rather, let's say, expensive. But yet they were selling it for cheap. So she bought this doll. The lady's name was Debbie Merrick, 50. She's from somewhere in England. Okay. So she buys this doll from this charity shop. And when she brings it home, she notices weird things starts happening. You know, so I guess the first night she brings it home, they hear like footsteps. They hear things creaking in the middle of the night. They even reported like maybe some lights going out. And before the doll had even arrived, everything was fine. No paranormal activity whatsoever. But with this doll, they started noticing strange things happening. And I guess one of the last straws, beside, your regular creep out spirits just kind of creeping you out by turning off things and making noises, it appears that maybe the doll in the middle of the night climbed up onto their bed and scratched the husband's leg or arm. I think it was his leg. He woke up one morning and thought, hey, where did these scratches come from? And he didn't think that anything of it. But then later on, piecing two and two together, it's like, hey, this doll scratched me. And she was trying to like get up in my pants or something. That sets the stage. So the lady's like, oh man, this thing is creepy. After it scratched her husband, she said, I'm done with this. She takes the doll, puts it inside the box, wraps this pearl necklace, I think that it has around its neck. It's pretty long, and so she wraps it around the doll's neck. And so the doll is now packaged inside of this box with this thing tied around its neck. Later on, I guess that same night or something, they hear something upstairs. They hear something making noises. They hear noises in the middle of the night and creaking and scratching. So they go upstairs and they check the attic. Maybe the next morning they check the attic. I don't know. In the attic, she finds that the doll is still inside the box, still packaged up, but the necklace around his neck has been removed. Like the doll woke up and said, oh, hell no, you ain't choking me. And she took the necklace off. Now this lady's freaked out and she brings in some specialists. I guess she has a friend. Go figure. I don't know who has a friend who is a medium, but she has a friend who is a medium. If you guys don't know what a medium is, look up Medium, title of the television show starring Patricia Arquette. Great show. It was on for like maybe 5 seasons or something. 5 seasons. So the first 2 or 3, the first 2 were good, and then later on it started getting kind of weird and stupid, or kind of boring actually. But it was still an all-around good show. She won some Emmys for that, I believe, or maybe Golden Globe, one of the two. But it was a good show. Ended kind of weakly, but it was still a good show. She brings in this medium friend, and this medium friend comes in, and she says, she's looking at this doll. She's examining it. She's like, oh, hell to the no. Something's in that. She refused to come over to the lady's house in fear of this spirit or whatever possessing this doll. And if I've told you before, back in the day, that's what dolls were used for. And if this is an old vintage doll, which it looks like, it could have been possible that it's just one of those relics from someone's home that they use to store away the soul of a loved one. Go figure. Here it is. We set that stage. Boom. She's like, okay, I'm done with this doll. She puts it on sale. She puts it up for sale for eBay. And I thought this story ended there. However, there's another twist. Somebody bought that doll off of eBay, and it's this paranormal enthusiast person. He collects items that are supposed haunted. She put it on sale for like €866, and he bought it for $1,010, and it's supposed to be one of the highest ever purchased haunted items on eBay. So he wanted that cred. So he got that cred. He got the doll and everything. He has this doll, brings it home. Nothing's been afoot in the house, to his dismay, because, he's a paranormal enthusiast, and so he wants things to happen. So he buys this doll. Let's see, what's his name? Let me give this cat a name. So Lee Steer, this guy, this enthusiast, he buys the doll, takes it home. Everything seems cool until his father wakes up one morning and he has scratches on his arm. And these scratches are similar to the scratches that the previous owner's husband found on his leg one morning after hearing scratching noises from upstairs in the bedroom. So this guy is obviously excited about this development. He hopes that, this thing is actually scared. And one of the things is, they said that maybe it's possible. He was trying to do some research and he found out the owners of this doll. The woman was married when he had it, but he's trying to track down lineage and see where it came from. But I don't know. He's trying to assume that maybe it doesn't like married women. So the doll is possessive of like its owner. So if its owner is the girl, is the woman buys the thing, or it just doesn't like men. Possible. So it scratches her husband. And then now the doll scratches Lee Steer's father. So now he's on this mission. So now he's invested. He's like, okay, he can make some freaking headways here. He can, make headlines with this. So he's basically going to try to sleep with the doll next to him and see if anything weird happens. Now, I don't know. See, I'm not going to say that weird thing that I said about white people, but I don't know why some people like to freak themselves out like that, but yet he's kind of like a professional. He's an enthusiast. He's been collecting things. He's been wanting something paranormal to happen to him. So therefore, I'm like, okay, so be it. Have something happen to the young man. Hopefully this doll wakes up in the middle of the night and chokes his ass to death. And I bet you, and maybe in the morning you'll see a big old smile on his face. You can bury this man with a smile on his face, knowing that he spent his life trying to collect haunted items with the hopes of reaching out to the great beyond. Something that exists within that middle ground between earth and heaven is that one evil thing that's just sitting there kind of waiting to devour us all. This inspired me to write a tale about this. Want to hear it? Here it go. Now, let me set the stage. It's called She Got Out. And this is a Talking with Burritos short audio tale. No one likes cleaning out the shed, so I guess that's why I'm out here cleaning out the shed. It's been months since I agreed to this task. I shuffled through crap of days gone by, playing this game of what to keep and what not to keep with things I swear I'm going to use sometime in the future. Aw, this thing is awesome. This thing is awesome. Oh, this thing is awesome. That thing is awesome. Aw, I'm gonna use this someday. Most of the stuff we store away in the shed or an attic is just shit we didn't want to deal with at the moment we put it there. Like when you move into a new house, you buy new things but refuse to get rid of the old stuff, so you just wish it away into the shed until that spring comes around and your wife is like, you have to clean out the shed because I told you to do that last year and you didn't do it. And so now you're stuck, in here cleaning out the shed. Sometimes cleaning out the shed can be a good thing. There's always something in the shed, attic, or shoebox under your bed that will excite a memory of a past experience. I'm not speaking of grief in this instance, or love's lost, but that could be a good thing. I'm talking about the stuff we hold on to because of a missed opportunity. That time we had that cool idea or thought this thing would be useful. As frustrating a task as cleaning out your shed is, there is some benefit to subjecting yourself to the sneeze-induced spider freak-out home-keeping task that makes it all worthwhile. It's finding that one gem of long-lost uselessness that's going to sidetrack your intentions and disable any progress of completing that task you promised to do sometimes a few months back. The Game Boy circa 1990-something. I bought this little ditty for my wife, the Salsa. She loves Pac-Man. And this was before the smartphone and touchy screen devices that provide on-demand gameplay. This system has a cartridge and runs on batteries, no charging cords or USB inputs. This Pac-Man specifically, and Tetris. Yep, those were my wife's jams. As a kid, she alluded to having an addictive personality, which I would later discover extended well beyond biting her nails to a bloody pulp. She can consume herself with gaming, Miss Pac-Man, Solitaire, Tetris, only on the Razor phone, Angry Birds, no half-assing, all 5 stars or you don't move on. And currently, Candy Crush. I'm talking level 2000, I'm serious. Just as easily as my wife can get addicted to a game, I have the natural ability to forget what she told me within seconds of her telling me that thing she was yammering on about. We need to clean out the shed. I'll do it. When? I don't know, tomorrow. Fast forward 3 months later and I'm in the shed playing Miss Pac-Man and loving it, by the way. What was that thing she told me about the shed? I'm pretty sure she said something about Christmas, Easter, happy Halloween. Nope, I got it. No, not really. Oh, smug-ass ghost. I reconsider returning to my duties as a respectful husband who does listen to his wife and would like for nothing but to have her arrive home and find that the shed is cleaned and organized to Her Majesty's liking. Miss Pac-Man, though, you can't help but to play and start all over again. Damn if this thing was in color. Watch out for the... In my excitement, I dropped the Game Boy onto the floor. As I reached to retrieve the relic, I noticed an open container and loose bungee cords. Huh. Make sure she doesn't get out. That's when I felt her. Don't even know if she ever had a name. My daughter received it as a gift from my father's girlfriend at the time. Not the bitch, but Karen. For years, she stuffed it away in her closet until one night, whilst watching The Thrones, I fell asleep and found her next to my computer, gazing at me. Or was it the Rumi? You didn't have to tell me twice. I locked that thing up in the shed and didn't think anything about it. No worries. That was until now. The ironic lesson learned for not paying attention to your wife when she speaks. Jerry, Jayla says she heard a crash in the shed. She probably broke something days ago and now she hears something. No, if I remember, I told you those containers were old and some of them looked as if they might collapse. Just like you told me we needed new blinds in our bedroom, right? Jerry, we need to clean out the shed. I'll do it. When? Jerry, I need dates. I don't know, tomorrow. Okay, but make sure she doesn't get out. Yeah, okay, but I wasn't paying attention by then. She'd already lost me at Jerry. So as Black Dude, I hightailed it out of the shed, tripping over a storage box first and scrambling along the ground until I regained the momentum of a confident stride. I reached the back door, home base, head forward and stretching for the knob. The door swings open as I pull the knob towards me. Inside the sanctuary of my kitchen, I peer out through the grated triangle openings of the wrought iron door, watching the shed, waiting for the creepypasta doll to waddle out on a wooden platform. Or would she hop? The coast seems clear, but the closing of the shed door is more a job for the Salsa, aka Val the Dementor, aka V-Love. I'm hoping for the third of the three semblances to my wife's personality. Either one is better than the option of going back out there. I hate dolls. As I turn away from the door, I see her, the doll, staring right at me with her lifeless gaze. She's just propped up on the counter, just staring at me. Pull my phone out of my pocket and phone my wife. Hey Val, she got out. This was based on this article from the Mirror about a doll that's terrorizing this family, and she sells the doll on eBay, and so now some other guy got it and he wants to try to tempt fate and have it sleep right next to him so he can kill him in the middle of the night. Whatever. But, with that said, no matter how you spin it, dolls make bad roommates. However, if you really feel the need to own such an empty vessel with no personality and frightful gaze, then get a cat. No. I'm not talking about a cat instead of the doll. Buy a cat once you purchase the ceramic soulless non-rent paying vessels, because that's exactly what they are, or from what purpose they were created. Lee Steer, guy that just bought that doll. You know what? If you don't have a cat, get one. See, dolls were created to house the souls of its owners after death, and only as history progressed did the ceramic oglers become playthings for little girls and boys. If you have these dolls, I say get a cat. These no-fucks-given felines will protect your soul in the event of one of these dolls deciding they need a soul to make them whole again. For years, I thought the cat was the soul-stealing demons who would sneak up on you in the middle of the night and suck the soul from your bodies. However, I was sorely mistaken. After watching the movie Cat's Eye, I, at some time or another, misconstrued the final scene of that movie. It was the demon troll thingy sucking the life out of the boy, not the cat. The cat saved the boy from the demon troll. So I guess I owe cats everywhere an apology. If you have or want a new doll to prop upon some shelf or adorn a curio cabinet, go down to the local animal shelter and purchase a kitty. And if in the middle of the night the doll finds itself all in pieces, on the floor, or under your bed with the paint of its eyes scratched out, Kitty says you're welcome. but he still gives no fucks about you. That's been Talking with Fritos. I am Jerry JJ Wayne Graham, and if you guys like this stuff, just send me over. Want to recommend some news article or movie? Go ahead, just send that over to me. And I would love to investigate some of your weird queries. But keep listening. I'm gonna try to stay regular now. Just keep putting out more episodes. Somebody's listening out there, so I can see the stats. So I'm thinking if I post more, hey, more people will listen. That seems to be what they say. Provide the content, and then the people will listen. But you have to actually try to push it out there to them. So I'm pushing it out to you and say, hey, if you like it, just share it. It's like anything. Share Bear cares. Be like the J Dog. But I'm not ending this episode, am I? No, I don't want to end this episode because why? It's dessert time. I'm sorry. I totally forgot about dessert. It's time for the Twilight Delight. So, believe it or not, they have an episode. See, this was me and Chris Rupel's thing. Our mission was to find every episode, just find a Twilight episode to supplement the topic of discussion that day. And there's always a Twilight Zone episode that relates to anything you're talking about. Test me. I dare you to test me. But don't get too creepy with it. This one is actually called Living Doll. Go figure. So in this Twilight episode, we have this doll called Talking Tina. And Talking Tina was just, and this little girl, not Annabelle, what's her name? Matilda? I don't know. I think it's Marley, Cat. God damn it, I forgot her name. Whatever. But the little girl brings home this doll, and she was, the mother, check this out, her name was Annabelle. And Annabelle wasn't supposed to bring another doll in the house because once she gets in the house, her husband, Eric, this guy's just like, what's that? How much you pay for it? What did you do? What did I tell you? And she's like, oh, I just bought the damn girl a doll. She makes her happy. You're not making her happy because y'all mean and a bully. And he exactly is. He is he's a piece of work, let's just say. He comes in, he hates this doll from Jump Street. Once he leaves the room, the first instances of, hey, I need to either get out of this house and or try to kill this doll. But, he kind of does that. I'm ruining this episode for you, but I say go check it out because it's awesome.
My name is Eric Strader, and I'm going to get rid of you.
You wouldn't dare.
Huh? Wouldn't I?
Annabelle would hate you. Christy would hate you. And I would hate you.
Just seeing how it works.
The guy is starting to taunt. He starts to taunt Talking Tina. Like, I don't want this doll. So the doll's like, you know what? I don't like you. And that's what she said. I think I hate you. And so all this episode is about this living doll with a mother who's living in this house with Eric, this abusive husband. He's just a jerk, but he cannot get rid of this doll. And so the entire episode, this guy is kind of freaking out as this doll taunts him. He thinks that the wife, Annabelle, is somehow speaking to him through the doll. So he's paranoid to all hell. And if this was like year 2017, you'll probably see some instances of the spousal abuse because this guy was a complete jerk and deserved everything. So I do recommend that little bit of tidbit dessert for you guys to go check out that episode. It's in season 5, episode 6, and it's called The Living Doll. So that's your Twilight Delight, and that's the end of this episode. I'm not going to ask you for anything else right now because why? I have to go record another podcast episode for you guys. So just remember, dolls make bad roommates, and that's a wrap, but not a burrito.